Information, please. Wake up, America. Time to stump the experts. Trot out your toughest questions and send them to us with the right answers. 4 experts every Tuesday night will answer them correctly or pay you $5 for every question that stumps them. And each question accepted gets you $2. Our master of ceremonies is Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Mr. Fadiman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Franklin P. Adams, humorist of the New York Post, and Mr. John Kieran, sports expert of the New York Times, are here again this evening. You can't keep them away. They just love this program. Don't you, Mr. Kieran and Mr. Adams? Our guests of honor have both been with us before. Mr. Oscar Levant, pianist, composer, and baseball expert, he says. And Mr. Ben-Hecht. Mr. Hecht says he knows more about insects and likes them better than plays and motion pictures. His great reputation, however, is founded on plays and pictures, whether Mr. Hecht likes it or not, and whether these bugs like it or not. Now, rules and regulations, gentlemen. Rules and regulations. I'll put the question to the entire board, and if you know the answer, raise your hand. Be answered by one man. If it's composed of more parts than 2, the board may cooperate. But if any part is answered wrongly, we lose $5. When you hear that cash register ring, that means the questioner is actually getting his $5, and a good thing, too. I'd like to repeat finally, everybody, that this is a spontaneous and unrehearsed program. The experts don't know the questions, and maybe they won't know the answers. Are you all ready, gentlemen? Here we go. The first question is from Mrs. A.B. Churchill of 27 Washington Avenue, Nyack, New York, which I believe is Mr. Hecht's place of residence. Question. The first lines of the following sets of couplets will be read, and you will have to complete them. Now, you don't have to complete them in rotation. You can just volunteer. Anyone who knows the second line will volunteer to answer. And if you don't know the classic second line and can make up a good one, which I will accept, we don't lose $5. Are you ready? 1. 10 little Indians standing in a line. 10 little Indians standing in a line. Mr. Kieran.
1 walked away, and then there were 9.
Very good. 9 little Indians swinging on a gate. Mr. Kieran again.
1 fell off, and then there were 8.
He certainly knows his Indians. 8 little Indians climbing up toward heaven. Mr. Kieran.
1 fell down, and then there were 7.
7 little Indians picking up sticks.
1 broke his neck, and then there were 6.
That was Mr. Kieran, I needn't tell you. 6 little Indians playing with a hive. Mr. Kieran?
1 was stung, and then there were 5.
And now you other gentlemen can leave the room and come back in about 3 or 4 minutes if you wish. 5 little Indians on a trap door.
1 fell through, and then there were 4.
Thank you, Mr. Kieran. 4 little Indians up in a tree.
1 jumped out, and then there were 3.
3 little Indians out in a canoe.
1 was drowned, and then there were 2.
2 little Indians playing with a gun.
1 pulled the trigger, and then there was 1.
1 little Indian living all alone. 1 little Indian living all alone.
He died, and now they're unknown.
Good enough. All little experts with bad memories almost lost $5 for information, please. I made that up in advance. I don't mind telling you. Second question from Mr. H. Skelding Timmons, 619 Washington Street, Boston, Massachusetts. This question has to do with famous superstitions of equally famous baseball players. And there are 5 superstitions corresponding to 5 baseball players. You don't know the answer, Mr. Levant? Well, we'll excuse you. And you have to get 4 out of 5. 1. What old-time Major League Baseball player took his chewing gum off his cap and put it back in his mouth when he had 2 strikes called on him? Mr. Kieran.
Eddie Collins,
That's
now
correct.
with the Boston Red Sox.
Very good.
Spencer Tracy did it in Test Pilot.
Yes, but that's another question. Thank you, Mr. Levant. You get a lot of extra information out of Mr. Levant. He just doesn't know the answers to the right questions. 2. What baseball player carries such souvenirs as pebbles, old coins, and rabbit feet in the pocket of his playing uniform? I'd like to see that pocket.
Well,
Mr.
I
Kieran?
think there are, perhaps a dozen or more who carry souvenirs in their pocket.
Well, let's have 8 or 10.
Well, I can give you one anyhow.
right,
He was
let's
right
have
in
one.
town. He pitched yesterday, I think. Lefty Gomez of the Yankees.
That's correct. At least that's what I have down here on the white card. 3. What baseball player takes 3 steps from the foul line, drops his glove, and steps on it on his way to the dugout? Volunteers?
Harpo Marx.
You know, that might be right, Mr. Levant, but is he a baseball player?
Softball.
Oh, softball. Does he use a bat?
Wig.
Just a ball and wig player. How about that, Mr. Kieran?
No, I don't know. I never followed a ball player's footsteps that closely.
The answer is Grove.
Maybe so.
You won't accept the answer, Mr. Kieran.
Yeah, I'll believe it.
All right, that's one wrong. Now, we've got to get the next 2 quite correct in order to win this $5, or at least not lose this $5. What baseball coach refused to change his shirt for 6 days? It's a pretty dirty story. What baseball coach refused to change his shirt for 6 days for fear that he would break his team's winning streak?
Oh,
Know that one?
Yes, that
Mr.
was
Kieran.
printed about a month ago. That was Hank Gowdy of the Cincinnati Reds.
That's correct, Mr. Kieran. 5. What baseball manager hired a truck of empty barrels to cross the path of his team on their way to the field? I don't believe these
That's
things.
an old chestnut. That's true, but I mean everybody knows. That's John McGraw.
What do you mean,
Among
everybody?
others.
I didn't know it.
Well, John McGraw did. He wrote it. It's in his book.
Oh, you read the book, too?
Yes.
Oh, you ought to be a book reviewer. All right, that's 4 out of 5. All answered by Mr. Kieran, with a little assistance from Mr. Levant on the movie end. 3rd question, for Mrs. Kent Powers, 2408 Russell Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, we're asked to name the classical compositions whose themes or melodies are suggested by the following popular songs. And I'm not going to read the titles of them. I'm going to have the pianist play a few measures. And you'll have to give us the classical compositions whose themes or melodies are suggested by those measures. Ready? First. Mr. Levant.
It's the Chopin Minute Waltz. It's in
Yes.
the wrong key.
It's in the wrong key. Well, if that doesn't prove if this is an unrehearsed program, I don't know what does. What popular song is it that was based on the Minute Waltz?
It was in a show in which Alice Bluegone. Irene, is that the name of the show?
I don't know.
I don't
didn't
know
on
the
my
name of the
card.
song. That's really before my time. Tierney and McCarthy wrote it. I know that.
Oh, is it My Castle of Dreams?
I
Is that the
wouldn't
name
know
of it?
the
You
name.
wouldn't know that. Well, all you have to know is Chopin's Minute Waltz. That's correct. Second selection. Mr. Levant. He knows it.
That's a Chopin impromptu.
Fantasy Impromptu.
Fantasy Impromptu.
Yes. And
C
what's
sharp.
the popular song? Do you happen to know?
Chasing Rainbows.
I'm always chasing rainbows.
Harry
That's correct.
Carroll wrote it.
Third selection. Mr. Levant again.
Dvorak, New World. Second
Yeah.
movement.
And what's the popular song?
Go on home.
That's right. Nice accent you've got there, Mr. Levant. Have to use that sometime. Fourth selection. Volunteers. Mr. Adams.
Sullivan.
I beg pardon?
Sullivan, the Pirates of Penzance.
Pirates of Penzance. And what's the song?
Hail, men who plow the sea.
And the song which was stolen from there?
Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
That's quite correct. And fifth and lastly. Mr. Levant?
La Tosca, Puccini.
That's correct. And what is the song?
Avalon.
5 out of 5. I think that's pretty good. To judge from this information that you've given us, Mr. Levant, it must be a great advantage for a popular songwriter like you to know a lot of classical music.
I don't use it.
You don't use classical music at all.
Nor the popular either.
Just right by ear.
Oh, yeah.
Next question for Mrs. C.S. Burgess of Grafton, Massachusetts. We all know what Shakespeare's Puck thought of us. Lord, what fools these mortals be. You've all heard that quotation, gentlemen? Yes, they all have. I'm going to ask you to give 3 other famous quotations that mention a fool, or fools, or folly. Now, any of you gentlemen an expert on fools or folly? Mr. Adams.
I met a fool in the forest.
That's correct. What's it from?
I think As You Like It.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Kieran. The boys are working together tonight. That's one. Mr. Hay.
A fool there was, and he made his prayer.
Yes, what's that from?
From Kipling.
Yes, that's right. I don't know the name of the poem either, do you?
The Vampire.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Very cooperative board. Third. We have to name one more about fools or folly, and then we can quit this foolery. Mr. Levant.
I thought he was going to beat me. I don't know whether I'm right.
You want to take a chance? Listen,
Fools, what is that about treading in?
Rush in.
No, you can't get together, boys. Let me have a complete answer. I'll take Mr. Kieran, then.
Ben Hecht lifted mine right out of my mouth.
Put that back in his mouth, Mr. Hecht.
I
will
haven't
you?
got it.
Got it back? Open your mouth, Mr. Kieran. That's right. There she goes. Let's have it.
A fool and his money are soon parted.
That's correct. You know who wrote that?
Not offhand.
Oh, very well
Benjamin
known.
Franklin.
I beg pardon, Mr. Adams?
Benjamin Franklin.
No, Mr. Anon. A-N-O-N, Mr. Anon. Doing pretty well so far. The 5th question is a combined question. We've combined questions from 2 people. One from Mr. Fay Kabatsnik, Miss Fay Kabatsnik of 422 South Lapeer Drive, Beverly Hills, California, and others from Samuel Claiborne Knuckles, Jr., 128.
Was that a K or a C?
That is a K. K-O-R-Z-E-N-I-O-W-S-K-I. A Notre Dame cheer.
Was his
Korzenevsky. I beg pardon, Mr.
Was
Kieran.
his first name Theodore?
No, but we haven't time to go through all the first names, you know. No, his first name was not Theodore. I'll give you that much of a hint. Korzenevsky.
Well, he's a Russian, but that...
No.
That's Polish.
I beg pardon?
That would be Polish.
Yes, he was Polish, Mr. Levant.
He was Polish.
Well, yes, he was. He's dead now.
Dead?
Dead, yes, dead. Sorry, Korzenevsky is the real name of Joseph Conrad, the famous novelist who wrote Lord Jim and Rover and so forth. That's going to cost us $5. And that $5 goes to Miss Helene Nietzsche at Macrocata, Iowa, as soon as we can get it to her. Next question from Mr. Marshall Seddon, 27 Sunnyside Street, Lockport, New York. This is about movies. Name a movie in which each of the following...
Information, please. Wake up, America. Time to stump the experts. Trot out your toughest questions and send them to us with the right answers. 4 experts every Tuesday night will answer them correctly or pay you $5 for every question that stumps them. And each question accepted gets you $2. Our master of ceremonies is Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Mr. Fadiman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Franklin P. Adams, humorist of the New York Post, and Mr. John Kieran, sports expert of the New York Times, are here again this evening. You can't keep them away. They just love this program. Don't you, Mr. Kieran and Mr. Adams? Our guests of honor have both been with us before. Mr. Oscar Levant, pianist, composer, and baseball expert, he says. And Mr. Ben-Hecht. Mr. Hecht says he knows more about insects and likes them better than plays and motion pictures. His great reputation, however, is founded on plays and pictures, whether Mr. Hecht likes it or not, and whether the bugs like it or not. Now, rules and regulations, gentlemen. Rules and regulations. I'll put the question to the entire board, and if you know the answers, raise your hand. Be answered by one man. If it's composed of more parts than 2, the board may cooperate. But if any part is answered wrongly, we lose $5. When you hear that cash register ring, that means the questioner is actually getting his $5, and a good thing, too. I'd like to repeat finally, everybody, that this is a spontaneous and unrehearsed program. The experts don't know the questions, and maybe they won't know the answers. Are you all ready, gentlemen? Here we go. The first question is from Mrs. A.B. Churchill of 27 Washington Avenue, Nyack, New York, which I believe is Mr. Hecht's place of residence. Question. The first lines of the following sets of couplets will be read, and you will have to complete them. Now, you don't have to complete them in rotation.